Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about parameter passing and recursion in Unit 1. So, already in the previous class, we already discussed about how to define a method in Java class. Now, we are going to discuss parameter passing. So, first of all, what is meant by parameter? What is the parameter is a parameter nothing but a symbolic name for that particular data that goes into a function. For example, here we are calling a function called as func, and here it is receiving two data with the help of the two variables, that is a comma b, and here a comma b are called as the parameters, and the type of the data they are going to receive is the integer. So what is a parameter is the name given for the name, whatever data which is coming to the function. For that we need to specify some name. That symbolic name is called as a parameter. So here a and b are the parameters, and int is representing the type of the data it is going to receive, and func is the function name. So basically we can pass the parameter to a function in Java programming language two ways. One is a pass by value, and second one is pass by reference. What is meant by pass by value is if you use a technique called as a pass by value, if you pass some data to a function, original data is not going to be affected. Only the copy of the data is sent, and whatever the changes we do in that particular function, which are not going to affect on the original data. So the technique is called as the pass by value. I give a good program for this, then you better understand what is meant by pass by value. So simply what is meant by pass by value is if we pass we pass the data to a function, but whatever the changes we've done in the function, those changes are not going to affect on the original data, then the technique is called as the pass by value. Next technique is pass by reference. Here we doesn't pass the copy of the data, we pass the address of the data or reference of the data. That's why whatever the changes we're going to done with the parameters, it is also going to affect on the original data also. Simply what we if you use the technique pass by value, original data is not going to be changes, and if you use the technique pass by reference, original data is going to be changed. That is the difference between pass by value and pass by reference. Let us see this particular diagram for better understanding the concept. Here I have a class called as a cup class, and two cup classes are there, and here I'm calling a method called as fill cup with the concept called as pass by reference, and here also I am calling the same cup class is calling fill cup method. But here what I am doing is here I am using the technique pass by value, and here I am using the technique pass by reference. So what is the simple difference is if you use the pass by value, so the data is copy of the data is passed to the fill cup method, but whatever here see this here cup is previously it is empty. Now cup is filling with the some data, but the filling of the data is not going to affect on the original one. It is not going to affect on the one. So in the pass by value, original one is not changes. But see here, in the pass by reference, copy of the data is sent to here. But what is happened? Only not a copy data, complete the address of that particular is set. That's why whenever the cup is changing, automatically the here also the data is changes. So that is the basic difference between pass by reference and pass by value. In the pass by reference, original, if you modify the parameter data, original data is also modifies both ways. So if you modify here, the original data is also modified. But in terms of pass by value, original data is not at all modified. Only the parameter is going to be changes. But here in the pass by reference, both the data, original data, and whenever changing parameter, original data is also changed. That is the basic difference between pass by value and pass by reference. So let us understand this particular pass by value, pass by reference, and also this particular pass by value is also called as call by value. It is also called as the call by value. So for better understanding, with the help of a small program, I will explain this concept. Then you can. So let us see the program for the pass by value. So now we have a function void. So void means the function is not, when we use the void is, the function is not returning any value, then we will use the void. void intimates the function is not going to return. So here my function is taking the two parameters. On these parameters I am performing simple operation. A is equal to a plus 10 and b is equal to b plus 20. So the simple operation I am doing here, and after that, so that particular function needs to be called. For that we need to create object for our class to call the function. So para, for class name is para, and for that I am create object p1 is equal to new para, and now with the help of the object p1, so before that what we do is uh, here we will assign int a is equal, so before the object creation, right, int a is equal to 10 comma b is equal to 10, and now here what we do is we print these variables system.out.println a value is b value before a value, and so after this function, after this statement, now we call with respect to our class object p1, we call the function p1 dot func and pass these parameters. So we will pass a comma b. Let's close this. And now let us execute. So we have to write one more statement. So after calling the function, what are the a and b values, whether they change or not. So after, so now let us compile the program. So there are no errors, and if I execute this program, see. So before the a value is 10 and b value is 10, after that also a value is 10 and b value is 10. So by passing the parameters, so here what I done for the function a comma b, I pass the parameters a comma b, and what happens is here a b, the only copy of the data is sent, not the original address is not sent. That's why whatever the changes, whatever we made here, they are not affected here. So this is called as the call by value. So next program, so we modify simple modification in the program and we convert this into pass by reference. So see here what we are trying to do is now now we already seen what constructor, what is meant by a constructor. So void, so the when we call it as a constructor, if the method name is same as the class name, it is called as the constructor. So a is equal to, so we have defined a constructor here, and b is equal to j. Now, here what we do is we doesn't pass the parameter, we will pass the object. So address means, what is address means object. That's why. So what are the object we're going to pass is of class para. That's why I'm mentioning as a para p. And now here we do p dot a is equal to p dot a plus 10, and p dot b is equal to p dot b plus 20. Now let us remove these things. Now what we do, the simple thing is, now, so what we do is with the help of the constructor I am passing the some default values to the class. So 10 comma 20 values are passing, and now e1 dot a p1 dot p. Now I call this function p1 dot function with the help of the object, and here I am not pass a what I pass is I pass my class object as a parameter. Our class object is p1 and I'm passing my class object as a parameter. That's why here I have not mentioned p. What is the type of the p I mentioned is para. Why? Because p is an object. So of which class? Para class. That's why the class name mentioned. Now whatever the object p1 I pass is going to store into the this object variable p, and now directly what I am doing is with the help of the object p dot a, so directly I am referring. So what p contains p1 object, so p dot a means p1 dot a, so p1 dot a is equal to p1 dot a plus 10. Already what is the value of p1 dot a here? With the help of the constructor I am already passed the 10 value in the with the variable I, it contains, so it assigned to the a variable. A is equal to I, and now default a value is 10 and b value is 20. Now whenever I done the modification, a value is modified as 20 and b value is modified 40. So let us see this, what the whether the original values are affected or not. We're going to see here. Also we need to write p1 dot a and p1 dot b. Let us check whether the program is modified. Original values are small mistakes are there. So where it is here, I think int a comma b, and one more error is so it is, and here also I missed forgot the semicolon. Let us compile the program. Now if I execute, see this. Before the function calling a value is 10 and b value is 20, and after execution a value is modified to 20 and b value is also modified. So original data has been modified. Original data is what? Why? Because here we're not operating with the copy of the data. Directly we're dealing with the address of the data. That's why reference of the data, address or reference of the data. That's why original data is going to be. So this is called as the call by reference. So by this you understand what is the difference between pass by value and pass by reference, or call by value or call by reference. So what is meant by call by value is, so we'll see again. So call by value original data is not changed, but call by reference original data is going to be changes. So pass by value, pass by reference also called as call by value and call by reference also. Next concept we're going to see is returning objects. So what is meant? So a function can return an object or not. So let us see that concept also. Let us see the program of returning objects. So I named my class as return. So return, and now we do some modifications. So here what we are required is, first of all we need to create an object for our class return. So we are discussing returning objects. Can a method can pass a object as a parameter? So normal returns we have seen. Now we are going to pass an object as a parameter. Return a object as a parameter. So ret r1 is equal to new r1 new ret. So we created our object for our class. So while creating an object, we want to pass a value to our class. So when you are while creating an object, if you want to pass a value, we need to have a constructor. So we are creating our constructor ret r is equal ret, and we're going to sending integer. That's why I made int I, and now so we have to declare our variable int a. So here we need to mention a is equal to I. So whatever the value from the constructor we are passing, it is passed to the constructor and assigned to the class instance variable. So after this, so what is our intention? We need to create an object and pass that particular object as a parameter. So here we cannot write we want to return object as a parameter. So that's why our class name is ret and our function is some ret method. So when this particular function is called, it is going to pass an object and return the object. So ret method. Now further we need to create one object for our class. One class. Ret temp is equal to new ret of, and we take our a variable and modify some a plus 10. So after this we are going to return this object, return temp. So here what we done is we have created an object for our class, and while creating the object temporary, for the class I am passing a parameter with the help of the constructor, and a, what is a means, already we have seen this particular with the help of I. So what is a means, this particular method, let us wait for some time, then you can understand how the execution return them. Now we are returning that particular object. So here now what we need to do is, for our class we need to create one object ret r2. Now we need to call our function r2 is equal to r1 dot method of r1 dot method. Now let us see whether so to examine these all these things we will do some changes. So value of r1 value, so let us print r1 dot a, and after this have another statement, print r2 value r2 dot a. So let us see what is happening. Now let us save this program with the name ret save as. So it is showing one error, that is a semicolon has been missed. Program is successfully compiled, and so we got r1 value of is 10 and r2 value is 20. I'll explain the program, then you will better understand. So what we've done is here is, for our class RET class, we create an object called as R1. While creating an object R1, we pass the parameter 10. So while creating object parameter, what is going to happen is constructor will be called. So in the constructor, I taken that value 10, integer value with the help of int I, and for my class instance variable, now A is having 10 value with respect to R1 object. And after the what I get is I can just create a dummy reference of for my class RET, and after that what I done, r2 is equal to r1 dot method. First of all, with respect to r1 object, the method is called. So method is called. In that what I have done, I created another object for my class temp, and while creating an object, what I done, I written a statement a plus 10. What is meant by a? So this particular method is called with respect to r1 object. That's why a means 10. Why? Because here we pass the value 10, that's why A is having the value 10. Now what I done, 10 plus 10. That means the temp object, the temp is also object, with respect to temp object, the instance variable A is going, again the constructor is called and is assigned A is equal to 20. That means with respect to temp object, A value contains the 20. After that I am returning the temp object. So that is why before the method I mentioned ret. I am not written int method, not written float method. What I have written ret. Why I have written ret is, here I am returning the object. So this is how we will, methods can return objects. Methods can return the objects. So so that object I am going to store into the R2. What is R2? R2 is a previous dummy variable, dummy reference variable for the RET. So now simply what I am doing is just printing the R. So R1 dot A, R2 dot A. So R1 dot A, R1 dot A is what? 10. And what is R2 dot EA? It is coming as a 20. Why? Because R2 is contains the temp. The temp object is stored indirectly into the R2. Now the R2 dot EA means temp dot A indirectly. So it is nothing but 20. Why? Because here I mentioned A plus 20 previously. A value 10 and plus 10. 10 plus 10, 20. That is how. So this is how we can return the object as a parameter. So I think you will understand. So this is how we are going to return the object as a parameter. So next topic what we are going to discuss is recursion. What is meant by recursion is, already in first year you learned about what is recursion. Simply I tell what is recursion is, if a function is calling itself is called as a recursion. If a function is calling itself is called as a recursion. So basically we can solve variety of different problems by using recursion, such as towers of Hanoi problem and in-order, pre-order, post-order tree traverses and DFS of a graph, depth first search of a graph. So like that, many complex problems can be easily solved by using a concept called as a recursion. So see here. So the by using recursion, we're going to the best program we can do is factorial program. How this particular recursion is working, just see this particular animation. By this you can understand how the recursion is working. So first of all, we call the function factorial 5, and that particular factorial 5 is indirectly called the factorial 4, and the condition is not satisfied there, and it is calling the factorial 3 function. Again the condition is verified, what is the n value. If the n value is not satisfied, again the what is happened, condition is not satisfied here. That is why it is again calling the function factorial 2 function. So like this, the one function is indirectly calling the another function. So it will goes on like this until we reach the factorial 1. Again see the concept. First factorial 5 is invoked and is verifying the condition 5 is equal to 1, not satisfied. Then what is going to happen? Else is going to do. In the else we have the factorial 4. So again the factorial 4 comes here. Now what is the n value? N value is 4. The condition is not satisfied. Again that's why it's again came to the else part. Again else part, what is we're having? We have the factorial function is again we're going to call factorial of 3. So like this, one function itself is calling another function is called the same function itself. It's called as the recursion. So like this, a factorial program we can easily solve by using a concept called as the recursion. So see here, factorial condition is not satisfied. Again we went to the factorial one. At the factorial 1, the condition is going to be satisfied. Now it is going to return 1. So once read, so like this, we can solve the factorial program by using the recursion concept. So let us, I will write the program for the factorial function, then you can understand how the recursion is going to be work. So for the class, we created an object, and so with the help of the object, we call the function factorial. Factorial 5 is going to be called. Now let us write the program for the factorial. So we're going to return the thing int fact, the function. So we're going to receive the integer variable. The 5 is passed the factor function. That's why I written int fact int. So it's going to receive the 5 as a parameter. It is an int. That's why written int I. And also we are going to return the integer value. That's why written int. So here the int is written type. Now we will write the program. So if the value of I is equal to 1, we are going to return 1. So when there is no need of braces, you can simply write like this. If I is equal to 1, return 1, else what we are going to return is. So for the getting this particular factor, what is 5 factorial means 5. If we need 5 factorial, how we have to calculate 5 factorial? 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So to achieve this, we are writing I is equal to I into else return else return return I into fact of I minus 1. That means 5 into 4 we need. That's why I minus 1. So return I into fact I minus 1. So let us compile this program. It is showing the one error is there. What is this error? Cannot find the symbol. RECU R1 is equal to RU RECU. Why the error is occurred is here we are missed the new statement. That is the reason. Now let us compile the program. So now we got the factorial of 5 is 120. So let us give some space here. Then we got the perfect output. So this is how by using a recursion we can solve the program like a factorial program. So by this our concept is parameter passing and recursion is completed. Thank you for listening. For the next concept, please see the next videos.